Wait for it. Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a Stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let all of our guests introduce themselves to our listeners and viewers at home. We're going to start with you, Alan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, sure. I'm Alan Smale. I'm an alternate history writer. I wrote the Clash of Eagles series, which is about the Roman Empire surviving into the 13th century and moving into North America. And more recently, I wrote a series of alternate Apollo books. I am also on here because I used to work for NASA for 35 years and I retired recently to become a full-time writer. So I haven't worked explicitly on robotics, but I've had a lot of robotics in my background.
One of the authors who I like, who Paul podcasts with, also worked for NASA, but he worked for the department that faked the moon landing. So which department did you work
for? I worked for the science division. I was actually an astrophysicist.
Oh, cool. All right, next we have Miss Jana S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray.
Hi guys, I'm Jana S. Brown. I am the chief shenanigator around here. I tell people that it's kind of a combination of being a cat herder and a den mother. And I write under the pen name Jenna Ray. I run under a whole bunch of pen names, which is why it's a running gag. But the one that is conducive to this podcast is Jenna Ray, where I do urban fantasy, science fiction, and anything else that the mind weasels demand.
The urban fantasy is a weird one. I saw a book that someone recommended, a veteran I know, and it was a romance between a female werewolf and a human, and the author labeled it as furry. I didn't get into the book. I just went straight to the comments, and everybody was going ape crap with for the furry line. It was hilarious. They ought to take all those comments and write the book, that as the book. I'd pay for that. It was glorious.
Would be totally worth it. It's true. So yeah, I like urban fantasy, but I would not necessarily use that particular descriptor.
And that's not a judgment call for people's preferences or whatever, but I just don't think
not at all.
Together.
Setting proper expectations.
All right, next we have Mr. Jay Barnson.
Hi, I'm Mr. Jay Barnson. I write speculative fiction, which is kind of a fancy way of saying all kinds of science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, horror, paranormal, you name it. And yeah, I wish that what you just described for urban fantasy, which I love, wasn't as weird, was actually as weird as you implied it is. I think it's becoming increasingly common. But anyway, which is fine. If there's a market for it, that's why it's so popular. But anyway, I've written the Blood Creek series, the Vanish series, one of the novels in the Car Warriors series, and lots of short stories. So that's me.
All right, next we have Mr. John M. Olson.
Hi there. The M is important if you ever try to look me up, because there's like a billion John Olsons in the world, it seems like. So I am an author and editor. I write primarily science fiction these days, but I also have written some fantasy, short stories. I'm kind of all over the place with what I write. My most recent trilogy in science fiction is the Polecat Protocol series. I actually put all 3 titles into one cover, and so it's kind of a brick. So I have a lot of fun with the science fiction side of things. With an engineering background for my daytime career, science fiction is actually a really good fit for me. But for those that are curious, even though I edit, I actually have an editor, and she's sitting up diagonally I'm assuming everybody gets the same picture as me. And so, yeah, editors need editors.
It's true.
All right, next we have the war mistress herself of War Master fame, Miss Melissa McShane.
Hi, I'm Melissa McShane. I am the author of many, many fantasy books, including the Lit RPG series War Master and the alternate history fantasy series The Extraordinaries, about superheroes fighting the Napoleonic Wars. And I am here because even though I don't write science fiction, I have a long-standing fascination with the future and where it's going to take us. And that's my interest here today.
All right. And finally, we have Mr. Paul E. Cooley.
The man said my name. I'm Paul E. Cooley, author of The Black and the Derelict Saga, amongst others. I write a lot of dark science fiction slash thrillers slash techno thrillers, depending on what day it is and what I'm doing. Usually my books involve monsters, and lately The Black has quite a few robots in it, and so does the Derelict Saga. And I also am a semi-retired software developer, was working on robots the last couple of years before I basically pulled the plug on myself.
So your Black stuff, was that inspired by Lovecraft? I've been meaning to ask you that. I've read it. It's kind of dark, so.
Yeah, it is dark. Well, I guess you could say that M2 is an eldritch creature of some sort.
Okay. I got those vibes, but I wasn't sure if you were a Lovecraftian fanatic.
Not a fanatic.
If you like the space opera side, his Derelict books are pretty good as well. It's a little bit, Mass Effect horror vibe, but still not so much that if you don't like horror, you'll hate it. So, didn't you win some awards for that one? The Derelict one? Isn't that the one you won the?
Both the Derelict and the Black won Parsec awards.
Okay. Do they still do that? I haven't heard anything about them for a couple years.
No, it's all done now.
Okay. All right. So this is the part where we do the religion question so we can play the commercial and have fun, because we've got too many people to sit around and BS, because this is the topic I think will be interesting. But before we do that, we do have to ask the religion question, because we are civilized human beings here at the Blast and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and how do you take it? Alan?
I take coffee. I take it quite strong, but with a little bit of milk.
Okay. That's an acceptable answer. Next, we got Miss Jana S. Brown, who's going to tell us she's drinking, let me guess, Fanta.
Fanta is not the worst option ever, especially when you use the Fanta orange and you put it with ice cream and you make kind of a dreamsicle orange shake thing. But no,
Wow.
I am drinking Diet Dr. Pepper because that is my one and true and only carbonated love.
Okay, I did try the flavored the cream soda, Dr. Pepper, and the vanilla. They were actually pretty good. I'm not normally a huge Dr. Pepper fan, but the flavors they've been doing lately are interesting.
Absolutely.
All right, next we have Jay.
Well, can I take the knuckle dragging troglodyte option? I think that
Sure.
It's a monster.
Monster.
Okay.
Oh, Monster Energy.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, they don't like to use like actual like flavors of anything real, because I think it all tastes fake. But there's the Ultra Sunrise or something, which is basically like orange Fanta, but loaded with 2 cups of coffee worth of caffeine.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think people drank Monster for the flavor.
Most of them, they're not too bad. But.
Monster's got the new flavor they're coming out with. It's like the red, white, and blue or whatever that people are freaking out about. I've had, because they're releasing it also to military bases, I've had some of my friends like, you have to track this down for me.
Let me know. Let me know, man.
They don't have it in Hampton Roads. I looked. I spent an hour Googling for some of my friends.
All right.
It'll be interesting. They don't always come out with new flavors. Have you tried any of the other energy drinks? You talk about like the Monsters or the Rip-Its or
usually Zip Fizz is one that you add it to water, and then I have done the Red Bull from time to time, but not too much lately.
Okay. What about you, John?
Well, the last tea I had was a mint herbal tea grown from my front yard. So I guess that counts. Other than that, I'm partial to cocoa with whipped cream and sprinkles.
Okay. Whipped cream. I always do the marshmallows, but whipped cream, I could see that working. Okay. All right. What about you, Melissa?
Well, when I'm not drinking Coca-Cola, I am drinking dark hot chocolate. I have a nice little thermos bottle with a little cup on the top, and I make myself, I'm here in India, and they do not sell the horrible mixes that you make with water. That is terrible. You make it with milk, and you make it with whole milk, And it is very rich, very hot, very delicious, and just a little bit bitter. So
So
that's my drink.
if you like it rich and bitter, have you tried the European sipping chocolate?
I have only once, and I liked it. It's a little more bitter than I care for, but if you add enough like sweetener, then it takes the edge off, and then it's really delicious.
I tried that once at a fancy restaurant when I was in college, and oh my goodness, it was so rich. I couldn't finish even the little thimble cups they were
Yeah,
serving
they're
it
just
in.
little bits. Hmm.
So it was almost shot glass size the way they were serving it.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't call it a shot glass, I'm sure, because they
No,
were
but
fancy,
yeah.
reputable establishment. But
Sure.
all right, what about you, Paul? I know you're addicted to the brown liquid.
Which brown? Right now I'm drinking tea.
Oh, you're right. I'm colorblind. I forgot what color tea was.
I'm drinking tea at the moment, but that's because it's after 5 p.m. So otherwise I'd be drinking coffee in the morning and that kind of thing. I like it sweet as sin and black as night.
Nice.
Nice. I've been alternating between. I've got some more apple cinnamon tea when I don't want the calories, and then of course my coffee with some 2% milk. But sometimes even those 100 calories from that milk is too much, so I gotta drink the tea, which isn't as good. But I found the hot liquid still fits that ritual purpose when I'm writing, so I can deal with it. So. All right. We're going to play the commercial way earlier than we normally would, and then we're going to dive into this topic. So we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man.
Across 1,000 battlefields and 1,000,000 wars, there is always a question. What do you do when all the chips are on the table? Do you run? Try to find salvation in the arms of an easy peace? Or do you stand and fight and send your enemies into whatever hole they crawled out of? On Deadly Ground, a heroic Last Stand anthology, has 10 stories addressing that question. Each character faces the impossible in different ways, but all will be tested before the day is done. Can they earn a heroic victory amongst the endless eternity of space, or are they doomed to fall into obscurity?
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And now let's talk about the topic that brought us here is robots in the future, because even people that aren't authors start thinking about the future as it applies to sci-fi. And so we all, even before I was writing, we were all doing a little bit of the world building because it's kind of fun to imagine. That's part of the joy. So we're going to keep it more practical. And then, as listeners, you can apply what that might look like. But we're not coming at this as how to be an author side of things. It's more of what might the future look like. And it's just kind of fun to get nerdy about these things. So first off, have you guys been following the latest update? The Neo robot butler is what inspired this, and it looks like supposedly it's good to go. I suspect it's a man in a suit, and it's a gimmick right now. I am skeptical on anything on the internet these days. I was just happy it wasn't AI video, so I mean that's a win.
Wow, this does not look real.
Yeah, I've done some digging on the Neo one. At least they've been some people in the tech side of the news industry that are saying no, we've seen it in person. Now whether it's doing what they say or it's just remote controlled is another story. Because I still remember when Amazon was supposedly doing those stores where they just tracked you and checked out, and it turned out it's a bunch of people on a computer in India, and it wasn't actually what they said. So I mean, the robot exists. It moves around. Whether it's autonomous or not is another story.
Well, and even more timely, I guess, Melania Trump had a robot at the White House summit. There's a White House summit going on with the first ladies of various countries, and this one is supposed to be a teacher. And so they're talking about using robots as part of the education system. And again, it looks kind of creepy and that kind of stuff, and it has a light up face with LEDs on it. But it walks side by side with her, and that's the pitch that they're talking about is this something that we want in our classrooms? So,
the more friendly they make it, the creepier it gets. The more friendly looking, because I'm just thinking, like, if it looks intimidating, I can accept it. When they make it look kind of joyous and clownish, then I'm expecting it to go for full murder on me.
That's the uncanny valley. Yeah.
It's the uncanny valley.
Yeah, those of us who've worked in video games are familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the closer you get to reality, the more those little differences stand out and really bug you. You can see something is wrong there.
Yeah, it's our Neanderthal knuckle dragging troglodyte brain going in and saying, "Ooh, that doesn't sound right. I might be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger." So it sends off all the warning bells.
So first, since several of you have tech backgrounds, how realistic in any time in the near future do you think it is that we're going to get the robots like they're talking about in science fiction, that you're seeing the commercials for? That, like you said, I'm skeptical of everything. How realistic do you think it is that in the next couple years something like that's going to actually be viable with current tech?
I think the generalized robot is going to be a real problem. But people have been kicking out these highly specialized things that only do one task, but they do it well. And so I think that's a lot more likely to come out and be popular in a lot of different niche areas rather than the generalized, I can do everything kind of a robot. I think that's still a ways out. And there are a lot of people that are going to run into major issues as they try to solve that problem.
Right, and the thing about the robot butler is that it's designed to move around your house and fold your washing and fill your dishwasher and, I don't know, look after your baby or something. But that's a household. Households are all very different, and the landscape is very different. And are you really going to pay $20,000 or $499 a month to have this creature moving very slowly around your house that you're going to have to teach to do the things you want them to do? I don't know. I think it's probably cheaper in this case to actually just buy a human who is a lot more, designed to do those kind of tasks.
I think you rent the human.
Well, okay, rent the human. Sorry.
I bred
More
one
phrasing.
because I make my daughter do that kind of thing. So, I created my very own human so that she can do the dishwasher because I want to. But you have a good point. A lot of these, the robots need that repeated, everything's at the same height and everything's at all those kinds of things. I don't know that we have the technology worked out for it to be able to adjust to what happens when we do things differently. And I'm thinking just of, the example of folding the laundry. Well, it's a very, very different thing to fold a fitted sheet, which most human beings can't do anyway, versus a towel that is perfectly rectangular and you can have a whole stack of them that are all exactly the same rectangle. But a dress is a different thing from a dress shirt, and some of those have to be hung up and some of them have to be folded. There's decision trees, and to have the complexity to say, we could do the decision trees, and can I also fold a t-shirt, which might be folded in 3 or 4 different ways, versus a towel where very literally it's fold and stack.
If my job as a robot is to wipe down the dining room table and somebody just brought the groceries in, is the robot still going to skip those other rules and wipe everything onto the floor, even though it was just the groceries brought in? You have all these weird corner cases, and if you can't generalize that and have rules that apply universally, it's nearly impossible to find all of those cases.
Okay, but we're talking about edge cases as if they are not solvable. When it's like when you teach your child to do the laundry, they have to learn all the edge cases too. And the question is, do we have the potential for robotic technology that will be as flexible as a child? And I don't think that's impossible. I don't know that we have it now, but just because we don't have it now doesn't mean that we won't have it in the future. And I don't know that those edge cases are unsolvable.
Yeah, they are just a wall you have to get past.
Yeah.
Paul, it looks like
there is the possibility of mixing it with, LLM, but that leads to other side effects. I was reading an account, and I don't know if it was for real or not, but where he did have a very simple, robot where he was using ChatGPT and, gave it a little rubber pellet gun or whatever and was trying to get it to shoot him. And of course it was saying, no, I cannot, he says, well, then let's role play where you're a gunfighter trying to shoot me, and immediately shot him. The idea of mixing that with robots right now, not without a lot of safeties involved, that would kind of scare me. But the fact is, I think a lot of these things are getting solved. I mean, not everything's a Roomba right now.
Mhm.
So there's lots of improvements. I mean, I think we're really on the cusp of being able to see things like you have in science fiction, uh, but on a very again a more limited scale. I mean, it's going to be hey, watch it sing and dance, and now it's going to go recharge itself, and that's really all it can do. And we'll see within the next 10 to 20 years probably a lot more advanced cases of stuff. But I think John was saying, I think you're going to see a lot more specialized stuff where it's going to be doing stuff that might not be the best for a human to do, some more dangerous tasks.
Those are the places where the robots make the most sense anyway. We were constructing inspection robots to basically go into old buildings where they had used double liners and they had rotted through, and now the fuel oil and everything else was now spilling onto the ground. You can't send a human in there. You need to send a robot in there to actually go and re-weld or inspect the seams and see where people can walk, where they can't walk, and everything else to come in there and clean it up. And that robot is essentially thrown away afterwards because it's so polluted. That is a special one-purpose use robot, but it's actually handling a bunch of use cases, and it looks ugly as sin. It's small, it has sensors and cameras, and it doesn't look like anything you would see in a movie, and that's the reality. Most of the bots that are in construction, most of the bots that are in any kind of maintenance work, the things that are cleaning drains, the crawlers, they all look like nothing like you would see in science fiction because they're dirty, they're clunky, they're industrial looking, and that's just the way they should be.
Yeah, Jay and I have both worked on cranes that are automated enough to where you could technically call the entire crane a robot, where its job is to automatically move into one location and prepare for the human to override and do the very delicate bits. And so you get the boring part where you just need to go from way over there to way over there. Yeah, robot control software can do all of that part. Then when you get to the really fine details, that's where it takes a little bit more work or finesse or a union that doesn't want to lose jobs.
Yeah. Well, you also have the case of, a lot of it's more a liability issue. It's like, running a Tesla and automated driver mode. It's like, yeah, you want to have a human there, and you need to have a human there to, even though the system might be smart enough to do it better than the human, but there's going to be that one out of a million times where it's going to do something, and it's going to. When I took artificial intelligence classes and everything back in college, back in the Stone Age, when it was, we only had zeros, no ones. But anyway, my AI professor, he gave something that still applies today. Is like he said, artificial intelligence, getting machines to make intelligent moves and everything. That's the easy part. Avoiding artificial stupidity, that's the hard part. And so whenever you've got that decision making and anything, even the robots we have, for cleaning your table, it's got decision making processes in there, and avoiding the stupid crap is 99% of the work.
Okay, so how do you suspect, because this is what we talked about in some of the pre-show stuff, that these robots, if they come into existence, are going to change society? Because that's one of the interesting things we look at in science fiction, right? Is if you take the technology, then it's and then what? So what's the and then what if these robots start coming online?
Well, I've heard lots of people complaining about how the robots are doing the art and the people are still doing the hard stuff. I think the idea is that we want to invert that and get the robots to do the hard work while we enjoy the easy life. And so in that sense, I think the robots would be targeted at doing all of the grunt work, the things like Paul was talking about, as well as providing entertainment. So that, I think, is the primary direction. But I mean, does a Tesla count as a robot?
No.
Well, we didn't define our terms, did we?
I was going to say, I think a lot of it comes down to economics, because when you can have it do as good a job as a person, but be cheaper than a person, that's when it happens. That's when you get the automated kiosks at McDonald's and other stuff. When you can have a robot that is, you can buy the robot for cheaper than you can, hire the human. That's when you're going to see that happen. But until then, they're going to be fancy toys.
Well, or again, tools that assist, because like I've had several big surgeries done, and the last two of them were both robotically assisted because the robot could be more precise than the human could. So the human had to know where to cut, but the robot could be so precise that they could do a lot less cutting. Because you look at what I had done and my mom had the same kind of surgery back about 30 years ago, and she's got this gnarly old scar down her back, and they had to break away some of the bone around the spine and all these things to get in and fix a disc. Well, when they did it on me, it's a 4-inch hole that they put in your stomach. They go straight through, and they do everything with the robot in the back, and it just jacks it up neatly, takes out the stuff that needed to be replaced, put in a brand new joint, and it's a joint that moves and all these other kind of cool things, came right back out. My recovery was faster. The type of problems that you had were faster. So I think when we look at things like medical, that's a field that we're going to see that continue to grow. And yeah, we still need the human there that knows where to put it, knows all those kinds of things. But the precision that it gives us, that precision work is something where I think robotics is going to be really useful, and it's going to grow really, really fast.
So human assistance and oversight is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. But it was still, robotic cuts, because
Well,
that precision is just not there in people.
I guess it comes out to at what level of autonomy is it, do we consider it a robot? If it's guided by the human, or if the human is just providing that level of oversight again. And
that would be autonomous. If you're just providing oversight, that's autonomous. Otherwise, it's just a robot with a controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the autonomous part is where things get interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The reason why I don't want a general purpose robot with any kind of autonomy is because it's not an expert on anything. It is the most dumb thing that has ever been put on the planet, because it has no purpose as it is made, except to mimic a human being. What is it exactly supposed to do? If you
exactly what a person does. Yeah.
That's a problem, though. Humans aren't really good at doing a lot of things. We're just not. Our shape and form does not allow us to do things like go through plumbing pipes. No. It doesn't allow us to go out into space and do certain things, certain dangerous maneuvers, or in extreme weather, or extreme temperatures that might break through a suit when you could have a robot do it.
Yeah, humans can do some pretty horrible things too.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. That's where things get interesting on the autonomy part. Because if I have something that is single purpose, or a section of a convergence of use cases, and that's all it does, is it knows how to do these 9 or 10 different things and all the things that go into that, I can sort of trust that it can do that. I can't take a general robot, teach it how to do those things in those categories, and expect it not to be polluted by other categories that it comes in contact with. I wouldn't trust it.
I agree with Paul on that. I can remember being surprised, because I grew up with the idea of robots as humanoid in science fiction. Okay. And so I remember being surprised when real world robots were not humanoid. They were auto assembly parts. And so I'm looking at it in robotics in terms of what you're going to integrate. And for me, it's household work, because that's, I'm a mom of 4 kids. I'm now grown. I look at household chores. I listen to my children talk about their chores. And I see the potential for robotics being integrated in your house in a way that doesn't require an autonomous butler that is bad at everything. I want the dishwasher that can load itself. I want the robot that can fold laundry. I like folding laundry. Everyone else I know hates it. And if there's going to be a demand for something, it's going to be a demand for a robot that can fold laundry. If we're listening to the house workers, the people who are taking care of houses and are having to do the wash. And I think of that as the extension of the development of the washing machine, which made such a difference in the lives of women, because washing laundry by hand is brutal and terrible. I've had to do it here in India a couple of times when my washing machine broke down, and I would not do it again. So I look at the possibilities for household work, and those, as dramatic as the robot butler is, that's not useful. That's not what we need in terms of running a household. We need all these little specific use case robots, and that's going to be preferable to having the cool guy who, the robot who looks like a person.
I was looking at it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think the concept there is kind of interesting, but I think social strata is going to determine quite a bit of what we want out of our robots. Mm-hmm. You ask a 12-year-old boy what he wants out of a robot, and it's going to resemble fart jokes more than anything.
Yeah, but a 12-year-old boy can't pay for a robot.
But if they have one in the house, it's going to know fart jokes.
Yeah, probably. Well, if it's one that can communicate, it'll know fart jokes. If it's, the folding robot that doesn't talk to you, it's not going to.
I was looking it up, trying to find out when the first non-humanoid robot was in a mainstream show.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And because I'm like, I was thinking it was either Silent Running or Star Wars, and Silent Running came several years before Star Wars. So that was the one with it was the eco science fiction with
that's Bruce Stern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With his robots in it. I always thought it was kind of strange that it was the humanoid C-3PO that was fluent in 10 million forms of communication. Maybe it's because he had to use hand gestures, whereas the other droid, R2-D2, could only do beeps and boops. Anyway.
Well, because C-3PO was a protocol droid, and so they wanted a human face on the protocol droid. But you notice that they didn't make him too human. And maybe that was the limitations of Star Wars at the time, but it's that same uncanny valley thing. He's still obviously a robot.
Well, then also in the Star Wars universe, humans are a minority.
Yeah.
True.
So, yeah.
So how do you think that's going to affect society? I've seen some takes on it where they get all big brained on the concept of robots, specifically when the Neo commercial comes out. And I'll link to that commercial in the show notes to your listener if you want to watch it. But basically, it shows it moving around the house, doing dishes, putting dishes away, sweeping, like doing butler type tasks. And the idea is, of course, it does it while you're at work, living your life, right? And you come home and all the things are done. And the take I saw on it, a lot of them were like, oh, well, this is going to be a gender thing. It's going to hurt women the most. When I actually suspect it would be more of a class thing, because it's not specifically women. It's women doing those tasks, like doing the housekeeping, doing the child rearing, the cooking and the domestic tasks that, people hire out. And I don't think that's going to affect the rich people that aren't doing it anyway. They're still hiring people. So I think it's going to hit at the bottom of the social strata as far as how it affects society. But what about the rest of you? How do you think it's going to affect from like a societal standpoint if these robots become mainstream?
They're going to start out very expensive, and so you'll have a very elite group that wants to buy in and be the first because they can. And the rest of us, it's going to have to trickle down.
Reserve a Neo right now, $200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like you could, get a fleet of those Neos if they do what they say, and Mary Maids is out of business.
I think everybody is overlooking the maintenance costs involved in said robot. It's
okay.
It's something because servos break, actuators break, things need to be readjusted, screws need to be retightened, sockets need to be put back in, sensors die, have to be replaced, batteries die, have to be replaced. There's a ton of stuff. This is buying a car. This is not buying something that you buy once and you never have to mess with it again. This is a damned car. It's going to need oil changes. It is going to need transmission work. It is going to need electrical work. It's just the way. That's just the way it is.
You get another robot to do that.
Yeah, just do the hand waving. I got another robot that can do that.
Yeah, the robot can mend itself.
Till somebody hacks your robot and breaks it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Well, see, I was smiling earlier because I was thinking about my dog, in particular, Dash, what he would do to a robot. It would die
Oh, yeah.
breed. He'd be dragging it around the house. It'd be awesome.
It would scare my cats, which, they could stand to be scared a little bit, I think.
Yeah, see, mine would try to kill it. It'd totally be this thing is roaming around the house doing things, and yeah.
So how sensitive are modern electronics that would do these kinds of tasks? Are we talking like, the Rubbermaid phones from the the early aughts that you could ride a tank over and they'd still work, or are we talking more like an Apple phone that breaks when you look at it wrong? When it comes to like, I have had bad luck with my Apple phone, but I still use it over Android. I'm just trying to come up with like a comparison that's like what level of durability. Like obviously there's going to be maintenance, but are we talking
It really depends on what you're making and what the use cases are.
Okay.
You can go get a Dremexel hand. I think it's for $15,000, which is pretty cheap, believe it or not. And it can do. I think it's each finger is multi-jointed, and it can do a lot of things with strength, and also is very deft at what it can be used for. I would not use it for surgery because why would you want fingers that wide? But that is a pretty durable piece that's able to go through a lot of abuse because it's designed for that. Now, if I'm using a LiDAR system, light detection and ranging, it's shooting a laser going 360 degrees, millions of times a second. That has to be protected a little bit more because it's actually got a lens in it. Cameras have lenses. They make some of this stuff that is very, very durable, and some of it's not. It really just depends on what kind of build environment you're looking at. But they're more durable than you think they are.
Okay.
I think a lot of it comes down, again, with the economics. A large part of what drives the prices down is when you bring more and more of these pieces onto a single chip, which, consequently means, you got fewer points of failure, but it also means, there's less of, just pieces everywhere. There's fewer pieces that can go wrong. When you have a very, very complex, the more complex the system, the more failure points you've got. So that's something that I think that, you're going to get the early adopters, and they're going to be showing off their robot butler, and not showing off the hundreds and possibly thousands of dollars worth of china that it has broken trying to wash the dishes. And eventually, over time, it's going to get cheaper, and you probably get fewer features, but it'll get cheaper and come more within the grasp of the middle class. So.
And do you want those fancy robotic hands being submerged in sink water?
You can protect them pretty well, so.
Well, that's one of the things about the durability question is that problem tends to go away after a while just because people make things more durable where they need to be more durable just because of the maintenance cost. If your robot costs $10,000 a year to maintain and somebody else comes out with one that's only $1,000 a year to maintain, guess who wins?
Well, the other problem is you can't find parts for your robot that you just bought 5 years ago because they've already had 3 generations of new models since then.
Or gone out of business.
Yeah. All of us have been in tech.
Today, there is actually with the Open Robotics folks and robot operating system, they actually have guaranteed that this operating system is going to be supported for like 6 or 7 years. And there are vendors you can go to that will promise, they have made a blood oath, the parts for these robots will be available for 6 or 7 years from when you buy them. And so far, all of that has panned out.
That's good.
So you build knowing obsolescence is coming, but you know that you will be supported for a significant amount of time as far as technology goes. Now,
that's kind of an interesting point. Sorry, go ahead.
Whether or not that can translate into other industries where instead of, who like to be bastards and make things completely out of sync within a year, you just have to see who's playing by the rules and who doesn't.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you said that. Was we look at the planned obsolescence where it's a year and you're having to replace it, but what if we get used to the idea that 6 or 7 years down the road there's going to be something improved, there's going to be something better, there's going to be something different, and it's okay that that's the way it is. If it's cheap enough, then maybe that doesn't matter so much if we're constantly improving.
Are they going to resemble the PC curve as opposed to the automobile curve?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining going to the thrift store and getting a used robot.
I don't know about
I don't think I would trust it. No, I would want to know that it had been in my hands the whole time and know exactly what what
I'd
it is.
also want to UV it and Clorox
Yeah.
the whole thing down.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I do think it'll be interesting, and we're not going to dive too deep into it, but I do think it's also going to affect culture because you've already got people that are lonely making robots their romantic friends. There's whole brothels in Germany. Of course, it would be the Germans. I do see like it affecting like interpersonal skills when we've already got people that would rather have the AI girlfriend than go out and talk to people in the real world, and vice versa. Do you think it's going to affect the way like humanity interacts with each other at all?
I've already got neighbors that I only speak to every third month.
Yeah, how much worse can it get?
Don't tempt fate, sir.
I know. As soon as I said that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no.
Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
There are basically three cartoons I can think of that basically describe this. The season opener for the second season of Love, Death, and Robots, where it takes place at the old folks' home with the robots.
Okay.
Who absolutely go on a revolution. It's absolutely hilarious. I highly recommend it. The other one is the Futurama episode where they have the guys having sex with the robots, and therefore human beings just stop reproducing, and the whole planet just collapses into itself. And then there's the third one who just jumped out of my brain. I blame JR for that.
Yeah.
But you were talking about how robots are going to affect humans and communications. I would say we're kind of already there. We've already got Siri doing stuff for us in between this, that, and the other. We've already got dictation taking place. People have been putting notes into their phones for years now with just using their voices. That has affected a lot of things. Look at the fact that how many people have earbuds in their ears and are talking while they're walking all the time. And you can't tell if they're talking to you or if they're talking to somebody else on the phone. But that is something we couldn't even think about back in the 80s. I mean, it's basically science fiction is here. We're living it.
Yeah, how long is it going to be until ordering groceries over the phone or the computer is actually delivered by a robot? I know they're attempting to do some of that now already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and your refrigerator is smart enough to know what's in there, what's been used, what you typically use, and it sends in the order for you or gives you an email that says, this is everything that you need. Do you want to add anything in case you have a special event coming up or whatever? But you can put your calendar into it. So it can say, so-and-so's birthday is coming up, all these things, make sure that I have all these ingredients. When is it going to be that just happens for you automatically, where some of our appliances are the robots? They may not move very far, but if they're still doing all of those automated tasks for us. And Alan, you haven't said anything in a while. I think you need to enlighten us.
Well, yes, I was actually thinking about that. Like we've been talking a lot about the humanoid robots that are supposed to do everything, but in fact, it makes much more sense for like individual appliances to do the things they're best at, like your fridge to be doing the thing that it's best at, knowing what's in your fridge. And you don't need a humanoid to drive your car because the car can drive itself. We have Waymos in already 10 American cities. And that's actually happened very quickly over the last 3 years. Like the pilot project started 3 years ago in May 2023, and now there are Waymos in 10 cities, and that's going to like go out above and beyond. So yeah, I'm not sure about the whole humanoid general purpose robot thing, but certainly in terms of machines that can do things for us, I think we're already there in a lot of places. I mean, essentially a plane is a robot now. It could take itself up, fly, and land by itself. The humans are just there to make sure that, in an emergency, everything goes okay, but they're not actually essential. So yeah, the all-purpose butler, I think, is kind of a fad, something that may or may not take off, and it'll take a long time, I think, because of the constraints.
What is the Waymo? I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, you're not
Self-driving
familiar with
car.
Waymo?
Self-driving cars, they're like Tesla self-driving cars, but they're actually in operation. Like I know a whole bunch of people in San Francisco and
Yep.
and
That's where we saw
Arizona
them.
and Texas and Florida.
Austin and Houston.
They're all over the place. They've done like 20 plus million rides now, and they're driving themselves around. They're driving their humans around. You can just go and get a Waymo the same way you would get a taxi.
Of course, when we were in San Francisco, Waymo nearly ran us off the road. So I was very disappointed because
They
I
have
am
other
ready
problems.
for Waymo.
It should not have done that because
It should not. Yeah, it was
things
it was really unexpected because we had been seeing them drive all over the place, and it didn't try. Okay, running us off the road is a little bit extreme. It tried to merge into the lane that we were in, and it was a little fast to do that. It was a little too soon for it to do that, and we were in a human driving car, and he had to brake and let it through. And I wondered. Now he was alert, but I wondered if the Waymo would have figured it out if he had not been. I have no
Probably.
evidence of that, but that was my
Probably.
expectation because they were all over San Francisco. They were driving very well. I am looking forward to it because I'm facing a future where I will not be able to drive anymore. I will not be able to drive myself. I will be relying on other people. And if I could have a self-driving car, that would give me the freedom that I would otherwise have to sacrifice. So I'm really excited to see how this works out.
So then how do we address the morality issue when it comes to potential accidents? That old trolley problem, right? Does it sacrifice you, or does it hit the children, or understand it's going to crash you and you're going to die, but we're going to save the school bus that was crossing? Like, at what point in time are we trusting these machines to make moral questions, and are they truly moral, or are they just, running the code that, insert code monkey generated?
I don't think the legal side has even approached this topic yet. There were a lot of complaints in Austin that, with Waymo specifically, there is no way for the officers to give the Waymo car a ticket.
Right.
It can break as many laws as it wants to, and nobody is held liable for it. Nobody.
Because there's no person. Yeah.
Because there's no person driving the car. The law is not ready to say, okay, Waymo, you're responsible. Fix your stuff, right? That's not there. Those teeth aren't there in that law. That provides them a lot of leeway in the trolley problem, because basically they can say it's not our problem. We weren't driving the car. The computer made a judgment call, and the computer's infallible.
So what happens if you have a lot of Waymo cars all aggregating their decision making and giving each other the benefit of the doubt and providing access to each other and cutting off the people?
I'll tell you what's even more terrifying. What happens when your smart little GPT decides to hack the network and then has a lot of fun with all the cars?
Yeah.
That's probably a more dangerous problem. I think the Waymos themselves, the thing that people say about Waymos, I've never been in one and never driven near one, but what I've heard a lot of people say who live in Florida and Texas and places where they're being used is what often happens is that drivers just cut them off, knowing that the Waymo will stop automatically. So they can just drive into the path of the Waymo and the Waymo will stop. It's not quite like the Tesla self-driving cars, which have a little bit more of a checkered history.
Well, that's interesting, though, with checkered history, still having a better record with accidents than a typical human. I mean, how do you weigh that? Is it a severity issue, or there's so many ways to measure that difference?
Yes, there really
I
are.
was just thinking, going into, robot houses and stuff like that, the Internet of Things, and people automating their houses, and the running joke, except it's not a joke, is that programmers are the least likely to allow that in their house because they know better. The people who really work with technology are like, no, mechanical locks, everything, none of that. Maybe I'll let it turn on a light. That's it.
Right. Yeah, those of us who spend a lot of our careers in IT, we're like, no, we don't want anything to do with the cloud. We want everything on our own computers. People who don't know anything about it, they're going to be a little more lenient about accepting that kind of thing. So yes, exactly what you just said.
You were
So
gonna say
what do you
something?
call this aggregate of all of these dozens of things in your house when they start working together and coordinating? Because they're one entity in one sense, and I don't know that there's a name for it.
Collective.
Distributed computing.
Gestalt.
Gestalt.
Mhm.
Distributed computing. Big
Yeah.
pain in the ass. Something along those lines.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Pain in the ass is the official new name.
There you go.
Well,
So-
because the other side of that is, and because this happens with my sweet husband, is he's got one camera in the back and one camera in the front, and he's got cool lights that do things. So he's got all these things, but because they can't all talk to each other, he has got a million little things, either remote controls or stuff that goes into his phone that he's controlling all the time. And he has to tell me, I can't turn off the light in the front room because if I go do it at the switch, it destroys all of his programmed things. And I can't do it because it goes to his phone. So
Mhm.
this is the other problem is that control.
Okay.
How do we do the interfacing so that it's useful instead of it being very literally, in order to turn this off, I have to go to my husband and say, will you please turn off the light in the front room? And he always says, it'll automatically go off at 9 o'clock and then it goes off at 7. But sometimes it goes off at 9.
Well,
But,
that was a little
it's that
easier,
problem.
and if you had Siri or one of the other voice activated things, either of you could do it.
Yes, but Wise won't talk to Siri. So that's the other thing is it's making so many of the companies, they want a proprietary kind of device, and we're going to get that proprietary robots that don't want to work with each other. You're going to have an Android house or you're going to have an Apple house because you can't mix and match them without having 72 different logins, because we talk about this, but it would all have to get along together. And often that doesn't happen in tech, which we all know.
Whole new idea for robot wars.
Who gets to turn off my light?
Proprietary wars.
The whole point of the robot operating system, which is out there now for free, it is GPL. You can basically download it and go crazy with it. It's pretty cool stuff. The whole point of it is that so we get around that problem of proprietary control mechanisms, proprietary messaging systems, and proprietary ways of dealing with sensor data. And that, in my mind, has been one of the biggest boons to the industry. And unfortunately, some of the industry doesn't feel like giving back to the organization. But the bottom line is, any of us can go out today, assuming we have the money, say $700 lying around, buy a TurtleBot, go install Linux, install ROS, and start playing with the robot. And start having it give you sensor data. It'll take you less than a day to make it work.
And with GPL, you can, vet the things like security and so forth on it. So.
Yes.
Are you guys familiar with the YouTube channel Dust?
No.
So they do a lot of short fiction videos. Some of what they're doing is way better than anything Hollywood's doing. And they've actually covered the topic of all these roboticizations of everything, where, insert random bad government, whatever that means for you. And suddenly, like, you can't open your fridge, you can't drive your car, you can't pay for anything because it just starts locking everything down because everything is digitized. And now you said wrong thing about insert politician. You don't get to eat for 3 days because you can't open anything. And everything's like, nobody's doing cash anymore, right? So everything's digital. So you also can't use your credit card or whatever. So do you think those kinds of abuses that you see in some of the science fiction is realistic, or is that just, creative brains doing what creative brains do?
I think that's more a social issue than a tech issue.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it's possible, but it depends on what kind of a government you have and whether, whether they're prone to doing that, because governments will do that even if they don't have the tech to do it. If they're gonna want to crack down, they will crack down regardless. So I don't know that it has anything to do with whether robotics is that pervasive.
I think it might change the difficulty level, make
Possibly,
it easier
yeah.
or make it harder.
Okay.
Well, and it would change, I think, people's use of robots. If you cannot trust your robot, then you're going to quit using it. That's just how it goes. And so you can have the kind of the ebb and flow of who do you trust more? People can betray you too.
But
Well, I watch Eureka, so I know not to trust the smart house.
Oh yeah, don't trust the smart house. Thank you, Eureka.
I'm a software
Teaching us
developer.
that
I don't trust anybody's code.
Yeah.
So,
I don't trust
no.
my own code from 6 months ago.
Exactly. I don't
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
anybody to have control over my stuff. I've got brand
Uh-huh.
new appliances, and everything says hook it up to your Wi-Fi.
No.
Hell no!
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
I don't
Exactly.
need to. Why would I need to? But everything wants you to connect it, and everything
Yeah.
wants to be AI.
So, assuming we get these robots, how do you think it's going to change the economy? Because that's the other factor, right? Like, if it truly is displacing work, does that have a knock-on effect where you just get people that can't work, forcing, I don't know, some of the proposals you see in sci-fi or the universal basic income, the UBI, as the solution? Because we're seeing some of that with AI, right? Like a lot of this stuff is getting automated. What happens to those people that don't have jobs anymore? Do these robots coming online change society to any significant effect as far as, you know, economic and social?
One thing that I see is it's going to probably parallel the way the AI software has been going, where people who are working discover AI can make their job easier. That never lowers their level of work. It just increases the number of things they do. And so it doesn't give us more leisure as a software engineer to use AI. It just means we're now responsible for twice as much stuff.
Mhm.
And
That sounds
I was just saying, with all of disruptive technology, you know, things adapt over time. But there's a probably apocryphal story, and I don't, you know, because they keep changing who did it, with, you know, Friedman or someone who went to India and found that they were digging the canal with shovels, and he asked them, why are you using shovels instead of, you know, heavy mechanical equipment? They said, well, this is a jobs program for employment, you know, not just for digging the canal. So this is to employ people. And he said, well, if your intention was to employ people, why did you give them shovels instead of spoons? And you know, we're going to have the same disruptive effect of, you know, okay, you've got robots now that can do that. It is going to change what can be done and how things are done. But yeah, just as John said, you know, what does it mean? You know, what they have now with cranes, with automated cranes, is they have one person at a station who's responsible for 4 cranes, because they have to do that oversight. And so they basically, you know, switch from station 1, station 2, station 3, station 4 as the lights come on when it needs that human oversight. And so instead of one operator per crane, you got one operator per 4 cranes. Anyway.
I'm just saying, the more I learned, the more I understood the Luddites, and I think they were onto something.
They were. They absolutely were. So were the saboteurs, the originals.
Yeah.
Although
So-
that whole idea didn't work out so well in the Dune books.
No, it did not. It did not.
So with the rise of technology, how long do you think before they get weaponized? I remember a couple years ago, there's a video of
Already.
Putin, there's a video of Putin standing next to humanoid robots, and these that are out there, some of the American companies have built them too. Realistically, they're kind of quasi pack mules as they test the technology. You see lots of videos of people trying to kick them over. I'm telling you, that's where the revolution is going to come from. You abuse them for too long. But there's a video, of course, where, because it's Russia and they're Russians, they put guns in their hands, AK-47s, and they have them on the range. And everyone's like, oh, because they were the ones that we were sending into the space industry stuff. And like, oh my God, they're going to put armed robots on the moon, was the CNN article at the time. You know, this was a couple years ago. And now I'm just wondering how long before these get weaponized, these machines, and they're used.
You've already seen stuff from the Ukraine war with the drones.
Yeah,
and the
what do you think a
weapons.
drone is?
Yeah, it's gut wrenching and horrifying, because I looked at, you know, when I started seeing some of that stuff, and I'm like, this is like the opening scene from, like, you know, Terminator 2. It's just crazy. And so yeah, I think it's already here, and we're gonna just see more of it over time.
Yeah, because again, the shape of a robot is not necessarily humanoid. And so we think, you know, when people are saying, well, when are we going to have robots on the field of battle? They're not going to look like humans running around, because they are too easy to kick over. They are too easy to do other things. They're going to hunker down and they're going to blow through things. And we're already seeing that everywhere. That's going to continue. And that's that whole there are positives and negatives that we can do with just about anything. I'm more interested in, how do they help us with getting into space with the NASA stuff that Alan's worked with, and how can we use them to expand our universe, because they're already there when it comes to figuring out ways to destroy ourselves.
Good point.
Okay. Well, we are getting close to the hour, and I think there's plenty of room to come back to this topic for future episodes. But we have promised our listeners that we would try to stick to the hour mark. So, anybody have any closing thoughts as we, kind of? I realize this is a huge topic to tackle, and we probably have to narrow it down in the future.
If you're interested at all in it, go into ros.org, go check out Open Robotics, and go take a look at the kinds of things that you can do just in your house. It's pretty doggone cool.
I'd love to hear Alan's views on what the absolute best thing is that we might get out of all of this.
Well, of course, I'm a space scientist, so I'm going to say the absolute best thing is the things we're doing already with robots, because we have robot explorers on Mars. We have like the rovers that go everywhere. A lot of our spacecraft are rovers. Even back 20 years ago, after the Columbia disaster, we were talking about a robot servicing of the Hubble Space Telescope, which would probably have worked fine. There are lots of things that we can do with robots in space, and I think we should have humans in space, but I also think robotic exploration has a big part to play as well. So in that sense, I think robots are a big part of our space future. On Earth, I think it's going to go a little more slowly. I think robots are already doing a whole bunch of things that we want them to do. Like we've mentioned a bunch of these things. Flying planes, okay, drones, maybe we don't want them to do that, but they're doing it quite adequately, and other things. So, but in terms of like the humanoid butler, which is where we came in on this, I think that's going to be a long time before any of that really bears fruit, and I'm not even sure we need that. So I think it's really on the frontiers that we need robots the most.
I was going to say, for all the scary things that, of course, I've been bringing in and everything, there's still the geeky part of me that's like, bring them on, man. I want, R2-D2 and C-3PO and all the rest of that, and Robbie the robot, I'm glad to be living in the future and seeing more of this happen.
Having seen that movie, because we did a review on it here, I can just say Robbie the robot is the coolest because he made booze for everybody. And who doesn't want a robot that just randomly makes you gallons upon gallons of bourbon?
There you go.
Okay.
Or maybe that says something about me, and I hope my shrink doesn't listen to this episode.
We won't tell.
All right. So that's a good closing thought. What are other people's hopeful versions of what they would like to see with robots? Paul, I know normally you like the post-apoc stuff, so I'm going to challenge you to think of something positive.
Something positive?
Yeah.
Construction where they bring down fatalities to near zero.
Okay. Jay.
Well, I mean, again, going in the same thing, working in the crane industry with simulators, again, more of the automation that can, again, save lives and, reduce risk to human lives. And Jana already mentioned the medical, but anyway.
Okay. John.
Yeah, that whole danger factor is, I think, where the best results are. Training people for efficiency and safety is great, but if you can also get the robots involved in doing that to reduce both the danger and the risk to people while you're improving that efficiency, there are some huge wins that we can have there.
Okay. Melissa.
Well, as much as I have said that I'm really interested in how robotics affects the everyday living, I got to say that the safety issue is really the first thing that came to mind. There are so many things that humans do that are so dangerous, and many of them, I think, could be automated, could be robotic influenced. I was thinking, mining for one. We've got possibilities that mining robots, and we see this in science fiction, with terraforming, and maybe it's not that extreme, but there's just a lot of things that I think robots could bring down the danger that humans face and increase our standard of living while they do it.
Mhm.
Okay, Jana.
I think one that we haven't talked about, but that has been on my mind, is helping us as we age, because human beings age poorly. And there's so many things. I've got aging parents, and there's so many things that they just flat cannot do anymore. And so if I can't get down there, it just doesn't get done. And how nice would it be to have some of that in place to help me better take care of them, to help make some of those tasks easier for them to do, kind of help us with being able to age. And then I love the exploratory. We still haven't mapped so much of our oceans and so much of our planet that we don't know anything about, because it's too ding dang dangerous for us to go there. But I want to know what's at the bottom of the oceans as much as I want to know what's in outer space. And I think both are going to be interesting, and we're going to need that robot handshake in order to get there. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I want to see that there's so much that we just don't know about. And
I love
we
both
need
of
to help
those
get there.
points. Yeah, both of those points, exploring the oceans and looking after, having robotic help for people who can't do it for themselves. I think those are both two excellent things, both excellent uses of robotics.
So I went, I was too much of a Boy Scout as a kid. So, you leave a place better than you found it. So for me, the idea of some of the cleanup potential of these robots, like maybe we can get rid of that Great Pacific garbage patch. Or if any of you follow the people that go, climb the various mountains where the bodies just stay because it's hard to get someone up there to remove them. If we could get robots to go up there and remove that trash, it's not just the bodies. Like, you could make an argument for leaving the bodies because it's where they were buried, but like the equipment that was just left, it's just polluting. I could see, grounds for that. They've got some people that have made automated machines. I don't know if that are, I guess, robotic, that collect the trash in the garbage patch, but it can only get like so much of it. It's at the top. So for me, I'd like to see it do some of the cleanup. And I'm sure there are some of these sites where like there's pollution that they're still, I forget the name of it, but where like they're trying to clean that pollution up. Like the Fukushima reactor and some of the other places, maybe Chernobyl, places where we just can't go. But if we had machines that could go clean the pollution, that might be a way to do it.
That's something they're doing right now.
Really?
They're doing right now. Yep.
Well, we need to do more of it then.
The inspection robots that I was talking about earlier, are basically being made to go into those reactors and do testing, and do cleanup. And of course, the cool thing is, after they buy your $2 million robot and they use it, they have to throw it away and buy another $2 million robot.
That sounds like a good business model.
Yeah,
For
I was
them.
gonna say, both because of the radiation and because of the deterioration that the radiation does to the electronics.
Correct. It'll fry everything. So you don't even try and decontaminate it. You just get rid of it.
Dump it.
Yep.
Disposable robots.
It sounds like a Joe Pesci model. F you pay me.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. If you want it to work, yes.
Definitely not one of the ones you want to pick up at a thrift store as a slightly used robot.
No.
How does this robot glow?
I don't think so.
So we would love you, dear listener, join the discussion in the comment section. And if you've got topics in the field of robotics you think would be interesting, hit us up as well. We can always harangue these guys to come back. I know they're all busy, very busy people, but I'm sure we can peer pressure them if you've got some great ideas. And with that, I'm going to let everyone, starting with you, I'm just going to go around Robin. Alan, how might we track you down on the wild interwebs?
I'm fairly easy to find. I'm Alan Smale, ALANSMALE, so alansmale.com. I'm on Facebook and Blue Sky and various other places, so you can find me fairly easily there. And my books are on Amazon.
Let's go ahead and move on to John.
Suddenly, all went quiet.
It's okay. It means the dog is barking in the backyard. So, John, where can we find you?
Let's see. There is my blog, which is johnemilson.blogspot.com. Facebook, you actually have to be a little bit more detailed. That's John Mark Olson. So that makes it just a little easier to find me there. Amazon, you can look me up and find my books there as well.
Okay. And Jana, that was just me. I forgot to hit the mute button. I was having my boomer moment.
Hey, I gave you a perfectly valid excuse, and you just went and outed yourself. So
I
from
couldn't
now
blame
on,
the
I'm
puppy
just
when
going
the
to say
puppy
it's
was
because you
behaving
know.
today.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
We
Ranger.
did not hear a single bark.
All right. What about you, Jay? How might we track you down on the wild interwebs?
You can find me at jbarnson.com and on Amazon and Rampant Coyote on X.
Quickly
Rampant
kick him.
Coyote. Wow.
His servos
Yeah.
aren't working.
Battery ran out.
All right.
Yeah.
What
He's
about
gone.
you, Paul?
Best place to find me is shadowpublications.com. That'll take you to all my stuff, my link tree, and all that other garbage. And you can also find my podcast on Apple, Amazon, etc. if you want weekly doses of serialized fiction. We're wrapping up Kill Shelter right now, which takes place in Antarctica in 1982, which is kind of a nod to the thing. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, go check us out right now, because we are on the YouTubes and everything else, and we're giving you story every week.
And if you don't want to wait for his weekly updates, he does link to how you could just buy them outright if you so desire for his audiobooks. And he's humble, but he has the podcast, The Dead Robot Society, where they talk all things writing with his friend Terry Mixon, who's a curmudgeon, and Veronica, the voice of V.
Voice of the V.
She narrates some of my favorite books, so that's kind of cool.
And then she narrates some of your favorite books.
She does. Too. But she's narrated one of our anthologies as well, which was kind of cool to get to work with her after listening to her narrate the Empire Phone series. So anyway, and she's been on the show as well, dear listeners. So if you want to check it out, she is listed under our narrator profiles, where we do a series where we interview audiobook narrators. I can't remember what we called that playlist, but it's on there and pretty self-evident. So with that, this is the part, dear. Oh, wait, Melissa.
You can find me at my website, melissamcshanewrites.com. I also have my storefront, Night Harbor Press, where you can purchase books, audiobooks, ebooks, and if you get the print books, you get them out of Jana's basement, which will thrill her. I'm also I'm not on Facebook anymore. My account has been effectively hacked and it's not useful anymore. But I have a Discord server where we are currently having a great discussion about the War Master series. And all my books are on Amazon as well as in other online retailers.
And because I've been on the diet, I've been thinking about food. So we had an interesting discussion today about porridge. And I learned some things because I thought porridge was just another word for oatmeal. Apparently not.
Porridge is not. Porridge is much older than the oatmeal.
So, and you, Jana, if we want to track you down on the wild interwebs, where might we do so?
I'm very easy to find. I am the loser of internet hide and go seek. So you can find me at linktree, linktr.ee/Opal Kingdom Press, or you can go direct to the press at opalkingdompress.com. Or if you find either of these two pen names, if it has to do with publishing, it is me 99.98% of the time. So I'm really, really easy to find, much to my security-minded son's chagrin.
He'll get over it eventually.
Sooner or later.
But this is the part now where I remind you, dear listener, to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book, so do your part. It really does make a difference. And with that, you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Substack, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, Blasters and Blades Podcast at gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, the Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. These episodes are not free to produce, and we appreciate your patronage. Every penny helps. And when you do that, be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast. And I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee, brand coffee, hot chocolate, tea, and coffee. And they will drink it until they get high on their own supply. If you want some of that coffee brand coffee, the link is in the show notes. The discount code is Podcast Grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my very crazy co-hosts, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. This was a lot of big brain fun, so thank you all for coming on and giving us your expertise and your witticisms, and we greatly appreciate your time. And with that, I'm going to hit the end button. Wait for it. Don't cuss